Hello again, folks. Skillful Mission here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the final episode in my series entitled The Judges. That's right, folks. We are finally on the final episode of this series, and I feel like it's been a while, and it has been for quite a few months. We've been in this series going through every single major judge that Israel had, from the first one, Othniel, all the way now to Samson. So last week we covered the first half of Samson's life in the book of Judges and what that was all about. And today, like I said, folks, this is going to be the final episode of the Judges, and this is going to be the final bit of story that we talk about Samson, the 13th and final major judge of Israel. So I'm really excited to get into this, folks, and you know, his story is pretty powerful and it's had a great impact on my life. I've definitely learned a lot from it, and I sincerely hope you folks have or are about to. So without further ado, folks, let's get right into it. Like I said, let me repeat it one more time. We are discussing the second part of Samson's life right now, and we're going to be in Judges chapter 16, and just that chapter alone. Chapter 16 covers up the last bit of his life, up until the point where he dies. Spoiler alert. But yes, folks, that's our scripture today, Judges chapter 16. We're going to start in verse 1. We're going to read all the way to verse 31. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in to her, and it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in, and laid wait for him at all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, In the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. So Samson's life is under attack. He's under attack again, and they're threatening to kill him. They're just waiting for the right moment. They're waiting for dawn. And verse 3, And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city, and the two posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. So here, folks, as with the first part of the story of Samson, I'm going to put clips in here from the two movies that I presented to you folks last episode. And this is where another clip I want to present to you comes in. This scene is pretty awesome, folks, when he lifts the gate of this city. You know, this really just shows how powerful Samson really is. I mean, this gate has to be heavy, maybe hundreds or maybe even thousands of pounds. I don't know, probably just hundreds. But regardless, folks, that is a heavy thing to lift, the gate. And with God's strength and God's help, Samson actually tore this gate off the post. And here it is right now, folks.
Lord, your servant calls upon you once more. With your strength, protect me. Let them witness the strength of the living God.
pretty amazing clip there, if I do say so myself. I thought that was one of the best parts of the movie, him lifting that gate, and it was just an inspiration to me, folks. I don't know about you, but great clip. Also, like I said in the past episode, they were both pretty good movies. Not entirely accurate, but still, nonetheless, they give a pretty clear representation of what Samson's life was all about in these certain scenarios. So now we're on to verse 4, and here's where the trouble really starts for Samson. Verse 4, "And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah." Here we go, folks. The woman who's going to seduce Samson and trick him and force him to give up the secret to his strength. Mind you, secret. Verse 5, "And the lords of the Philistines came unto her, and said unto her, Entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver." So right now, the Philistines, I guess the leaders of the Philistines, they call them the lords of the Philistines, came to Delilah and said, "Look, this man's in love with you, and we want you to seduce him, and we want you to trick him. Figure out what gives him strength. What is his secret that gives him infinite strength and that he's so powerful? If you can do this for us, we'll give you all this silver that we have. Bunches and bunches of silver." Delilah, maybe she really loved Samson, truly, or maybe she kind of has to. I think they fell in love before the Philistine lords came to her to entice her to betray Samson. So they must have fallen in love before. I don't know if she really betrayed him because she didn't love him anymore and she wanted the silver, and maybe she felt guilty in the end after she betrayed Samson. We don't really know, folks. The Bible doesn't say. People, like the movies that we watch, they try to depict that, Delilah felt sorry for betraying Samson in the end. But I don't know if that really happened, folks, so we'll just move on right now. But yeah, basically right now, Samson's in big trouble. This woman right here, Delilah, that he's fallen in love with, she's about to betray him. Verse 6, "And Delilah said to Samson, Tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, If they bind me with 7 green whips that were never dried, then shall I be weak, and be as any other man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green whips which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the whips as a thread of tow, and broken with when it toucheth the fire. So his strength was not known. So basically, Samson didn't tell Delilah the truth. He tricked her, I guess you could say, and he just told a lie to her. That wasn't how Samson would become weak. And so now, in verse 10, And Delilah said unto Samson, Behold, thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherein thou mightest be bound. And he said to her, If they bind me fast with new ropes that never were occupied, then shall I be weak, and be as another man. Delilah therefore took new ropes, and bound him therewith, and said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liars in wait abiding in the chamber. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson, Hitherto thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me wherein thou mightest be bound. And he said to her, If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it with the pin, and said to him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awakened out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam, and with the web. So right now, folks, this is 3 times, I think. Was it 3 times? Yeah, it was 3 times. So basically right now, Samson has told Delilah lies 3 times in a row. And kind of rightfully so, folks. It's never good to lie. But Samson shouldn't even be messing around with this, in my opinion. You gotta realize, folks, Samson at this point in his life has broken every Nazirite vow except for one, and that's the cutting of his hair. That is the only Nazirite vow that Samson has not broken, and so he really shouldn't be messing around with this. He should really just come up front and tell Delilah, Look, I'm not going to tell you what the secret to my strength is, okay? That's just between me and God. alone only. No one else is to know the secret of my strength. And I guess, his parents knew. But besides that, nobody was supposed to know the secret to his strength, and he wasn't supposed to tell anybody. Plain and simple. And I would think Samson would start getting suspicious at this point. I mean, 3 times Delilah said, Samson, the Philistines be among thee. And I'm not sure if the Philistines actually came there and tried to, capture him or kill him. But honestly, Samson seems like an idiot right now at this point, folks. Excuse me, but he really does. How could he keep falling for this trick that Delilah keeps laying for him? So Samson right now is not being really smart, and it's about to get worse for him. He is about to break his last Nazirite vow. Okay, and it says in verse 15, And she said unto him, How canst thou say, I love thee, when thine heart is not with me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death. So basically right now, folks, Delilah keeps asking him every day and keeps pressuring him to tell her what gives him the strength that he has, why he's so strong and powerful. What's the reason for that? Samson's starting to feel guilty. He's got the pressure all built up in him. And then finally, verse 17, he's like, fine, he's had enough, and I'll finally tell you what gives me strength, and where my great strength lieth. Verse 17, And he told her all his heart, and said unto her, There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazirite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I will become weak, and be like any other man. Uh-oh. I think Samson has just made the biggest mistake of his life. Honestly, folks, Samson, I can't believe he did this. Now he's just broken every single Nazirite vow that was given to him by God. He's a Nazirite unto God, and he broke every single vow that should be important to him. He's just broken the last one, and here's where things go bad for Samson. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she went and called the lords of the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head, and she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. So right now, folks, after Samson has told Delilah the secret to his strength, now Delilah knows the secret, and she calls some guy in to cut Samson's hair off, and afterwards Samson's strength departed from him. It's a real shame, folks. I still kind of feel bad for Samson in this scenario, but honestly, some part of me also says, like, you knew what was going on. You shouldn't have been this dense. So, mixed emotions, I guess, folks. Verse 20, And she said, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep, and said, I will go out as at other times before, and shake myself. And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Howbeit, the hairs of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. So right now, folks, Samson's hair has just been cut off, and the Philistines have come to bind him, and they've succeeded. Samson has become weak, just like any other man, like me and my father, and just every man on earth, pretty much. The Lord has departed from him. He broke his final Nazirite vow, so the Lord was no longer giving Samson the strength that he was used to. And so right now, folks, this is where I want to play the next clip. I couldn't find a clip that had all of that we just talked about, the shaving of his head. But the scene starts where Samson has fallen asleep on Delilah's lap. She cuts his hair, and the Philistines come in to bind him, and they put out his eyes. So basically they blind him too, to add humility to him. They blind him, and they make him work in the prison house like a donkey or an animal. So this is the next clip I want to play for you folks, and here it is.
I have the secret. Philistines are upon you.
I'll go out against them. Out.
The Lion of Dan is soaring like a sheep.
A lion? Not a man? Clean as a newborn baby.
He must have used a sickle on us.
Salted in the big vessels. Delilah's plucked him like a chicken.
I've taken away your strength, Samson. Your little Danite sparrow will nest alone.
You Philistine gutter rat. Throw your spears. The shield of my God is gone from me. What do you fear? My blood will flow as red as yours. All Gaza will honor the man who brings back my head.
We're not going to kill you, Samson. You Danites need a living reminder of the price of revolt. Bind him.
Call on your God, Samson.
I've betrayed him. He would not hear me.
Are you not stronger than 100 men? You cannot carry away the gates of Gaza again. You cannot kill a lion now. You're weak as any other man.
Yeah, it's a really bad day for Samson, and like I said, folks, I really feel sorry for him. I mean, you know, honestly, I don't think he really does deserve to go what he's going through right now, but he should have been more careful, honestly, folks, with who he trusted and who he hung out with. And so here's where we get to verse 23, and here is where we come close to the death of Samson and like one of the best and ultimate like heroic sacrifices I've ever seen or heard of, folks. Verse 23, Then the Lord of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon, their god, and to rejoice. For they said, Our God had delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hand. Yeah, Philistines were idol worshippers. Dagon was a pretty important god in their religion or in the country. And that stuff, folks, I don't know how you can worship an idol, something made out of stone or wood that doesn't even talk or breathe. It makes no sense. And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, Call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, Suffer me, that I may feel the pillars, whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. So right now, folks, because you got to realize right now, Samson is blind. He can't see where he's going, so he needs guidance on where to go. And the Philistines have brought him in here to basically make fun of him and maybe, I guess, hit him and beat him. Just to laugh at him, basically, folks, and make fun of him. Verse 27, Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women that beheld while Samson made sport. So right now, folks, there's 3,000 Philistines, approximately, all in all, in this house right now, or in this temple, wherever they're at right now. 3,000 Philistines that are watching Samson be made out of sport. Verse 28, and this is really great, folks. Listen. And Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. So Samson is calling unto the Lord once more, and he's asking God to give him strength just one last time. Just this one time, Samson is asking something from the Lord, so that he can kill all the Philistines here and be avenged for his 2 eyes. That's what he wanted vengeance for, his 2 eyes, because they blinded him. Verse 29, And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, of the one with his right hand, and of the other with his left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at this day were more than they which he slew in his life. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down, and took him, and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father. And he judged Israel 20 years. And that, folks, is the end of Samson's story, the 13th judge of Israel. Really amazing what happened here, folks. So Samson calls on God to give him strength this one last time so he can get vengeance on the Philistines that are in this house, and God gives him the strength that he had one final time to push the pillars upon which this house stood on. He pushes them, and then basically, to make it simple, the house just basically collapsed, and everyone that was in there died. Around 3,000 people Samson killed with the sacrifice that he made. And the Bible says the amount of people he killed in that house was more than he had ever slew in his lifetime. That's actually quite a lot of men for one man to kill, especially in one setting. 3,000 people. I'd say Samson got revenge, and it was well deserved for what the Philistines did to him. But it also cost him his life. But you know what? He sounded confident, and he sounded assured, and he was ready to go. It was his time, and that's why he said, "Let me die with the Philistines." And his sacrifice, I'm gonna assume, really inspired the Israelites to fight back against the Philistines later on in their history. And so Samson's story is very inspiring, and I think there's a real morally good lesson here. I think, in my opinion, the morally good lesson is, no matter how many times we fail God or we sin against Him, He may get mad, God may get mad, and He may not want to tolerate us anymore. But you know what? He'll always be there for you if you just talk to Him and pray to Him and ask for forgiveness. He's the friend that sticketh closer than the brother. That's what the Bible says. And I believe that with all my heart, folks. God has certainly been there for me during the most difficult times of my life, and He's still here with me today. I know He'll be with me through the rest of my life here on earth. So I think that's the moral story or lesson that we can learn from Samson. No matter how many times you mess up, God will still be there for you to give you strength and protection no matter what. And so we can take confidence in that every day. But before I end the video, folks, because this is the end, I would just like to say real quick, thank you so much, folks, for being with me on this journey in this series. I really appreciate it. This has been fun. I hope you folks have enjoyed it immensely. Like I said in a previous Judges video, I'm thinking about doing next the kings of Israel and Judah. And so that's going to be a very long series, folks. Mark my words, that's going to be long as all get out. But I don't know when I'm going to start that, folks. I'll let you folks know as soon as I know, or I figured everything out. But besides that, folks, like I said, thank you so much for being with me throughout this series. And before the video ends, folks, I want to play one final clip. It's the scene where Samson is in the temple and he pushes the two pillars and collapses and kills all of the Philistines in their temple or their house, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't end this series or this video without a bang, and this is going to be the biggest bang probably in the whole series, and I know you folks will enjoy it. Once again, thank you folks so much for being with me in this series, and God bless you all. I'll see you in the next video, whatever I make.
I pray thee, strengthen me, O God. Strengthen me only this once.
What's he doing?
He's holding up the temple.
Urge Samson to his knees beneath the feet of Dagon.
This is better than I had bargained for.
Well, the man's praise.
Oh, John, he's the funniest clown I've ever seen.
It moved.
The column's moving. You split the stone. The man has the strength of a devil.
No, the strength of a god.
Be more more powerful than Samson.
Forward! Run him through!
My eyes have seen thy glory, O God. Now let me die with my enemies.
Cut him down!
Save your friend.